What if change didn't have to be slow and painful, but you could actually upgrade your beliefs, your emotions, your identities around food in a moment, in a single decision? That's what we're going to talk about today, how to quantum leap into food freedom. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Live Unrestricted podcast, a show where you'll learn how to heal your relationship with food and your body so that you can focus your time and energy on more important things like your personal growth. I'm your host, Sabrina Magna, food freedom coach, and my mission is to help make your life happier and healthier without stress, overwhelm, or guilt about food. If you love the show, please do go out and share it. And if you're looking for support with your relationship with food, details about my programs are in the show notes. Thanks for spending time with me today. Now let's jump in.
All right, my friend, I'm so excited that you're here. I have so much value, so many lessons to share with you because I just got back from Sedona, from Arizona. So as you probably heard me talk about in the previous episode, I was away for a business retreat, but it feels wrong to call it a business retreat because it is business. It's personal development on steroids. And it's so inspiring to be around this amazing group of online business owners, of entrepreneurs who are, number one, so passionate about the work that they're doing, so passionate about the growth that they're working on within themselves, and who are all aligned when it comes to energetics and focusing on having a high vibration, high frequency. And so it's 2 days that are so powerful because you're around incredible people who are doing truly mind-blowing things in their businesses, in their life. And I'm always so inspired to be there. And I wanted to record this episode with you because I had some of the most mind-blowing breakthroughs in the past week. So during the 2 days of the retreat, it's really intense. We're learning a lot. We're reflecting. We're doing meditations. It's long days. And I find it difficult to go from such intensity and then going back to real, quote unquote, real life where I have responsibilities. It's easy to get thrown back into the autopilot of life. And so what me and two of my business best friends have started to do is after every business retreat like this, we take a few days to integrate, to decompress, to reflect. And quite honestly, it's basically forced therapy for a few days. So we went to Sedona, which, if you know me, my clients know that it has such a special place in my heart. It's so powerful energetically. You're there and you can sense all of these things bubbling up to the surface, these things that are within you that need and want to be let go. And that's something that I've always experienced. I've gone to Sedona 3 times now. And every time I go there, I don't know what is in the air, what's in the water, what's in the energy, but it really shines some light on the things that are holding me back from my next level in my life. And I had so many lessons that I never could have expected, that I never could have predicted. And I came back from the past week a different person. And I completely mean that. Me and my girlfriends started saying this joke that we're going to have to start saying bye to our partners before we leave for these kind of trips and say, this is the last time that you are seeing this version of me because I'm coming back a new person. And that's really what the concept of a quantum leap is. And if you've never heard that term, don't worry, I'll break it down for you. So a quantum leap in the sense of personal growth is a sudden, and dramatic shift in your identity, in your reality. It's where you upgrade your beliefs, your energy, how you see yourself so powerfully that you have no doubt in your mind that your external world will start to transform quickly. So think about it in the context of your relationship with food and your body, the identity that you hold around food and your body and yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, the way that you see yourself will impact your relationship with food. If you see yourself as unworthy, as not enough, as unsuccessful, then that will leak into how you behave around food and the way that you try to control your body in order to feel better about yourself. And so think of the power that this could have if you didn't have to spend months or years making this small, incremental progress that feels slow and painful. And yes, change does happen gradually. And when I look at where I was 5 years ago, there's all of these micro changes that I've had in my life that have compounded without even me recognizing it and realizing it was happening. And I've also had these moments of quantum leaps where in one decision, I shifted my reality. And I want to share the lessons that came to me during this trip because I know that they have the power to change your life too. So let's start with a powerful concept, and that is the concept of a timeline. So I was talking about this with my clients inside Food Freedom Academy on our coaching call earlier today. And some of them had heard the term, but some of them were brand new to it. So if you've never really heard of the term timeline in the context of personal growth and manifestation, a timeline is a potential version of your reality. So it's shaped by your beliefs, your energy, your thoughts, your actions, and your decisions. And we have infinite amount of timelines within our lives. So think about it this way. There is a timeline where you choose not to marry your current partner. Now think about how that decision would then change the rest of your life up until this point. That timeline would be completely different. Maybe you would be living somewhere else. Maybe your group of friends would be completely different. Maybe your job wouldn't be the job that you currently have. And so that one decision then had a ripple effect on all these other areas of your life. There's a timeline where you decided not to do your current job and to become a doctor instead, or you became a teacher. And that decision would then have a ripple effect on all the other realities in your life. The people you hang out with, the partner you marry, if you have kids or not. There's a timeline where you choose not to have kids or you choose to have kids. There's a timeline where you choose to have a dog, a cat, you choose to live on a ranch. Like, I hope you're starting to see that there are infinite amount of possible timelines that could have been your reality based off of the infinite amount of decisions that we get to make in our lives. From the place we live, to the job we have, to the people we date, to the people we hang out with, to our relationship with our family, to these small micro decisions that we make on a daily basis. And so you are currently living in your current timeline. That is the culmination of the decisions you've made in your life and the things that have happened in your life up until this point. But if you're anything like me, you are growth oriented, which means that you have dreams and goals of a future improved timeline. In this future timeline, things are different. And we're going to keep this in the context of your relationship with food, with your body, and with yourself, because that's what's relevant to this podcast. But this could also be relevant in the context of your career. If you're anything like me and you own your own business, then a future timeline might have business goals that you want to achieve. Or if you're someone who's really looking for love, then your future timeline might include being with the love of your life. But we're going to keep it in the context of your relationship with food, with your body, and with yourself. So I want you to think about your current timeline, how you think, feel, and act around food, around your body, the thoughts and identities that you hold about yourself. And I actually did an exercise with my clients today to help them flush out their current timeline and bring awareness to it. Because most people, they don't see their current timeline as painful enough. And unfortunately, people wait until they hit rock bottom, until their back is against the wall, until they have no other option and they are forced to change. And I don't want that for you. So I want you to think about your current timeline. Maybe you are constantly thinking about food. Maybe you have an identity as a self-sabotager, an emotional eater, a chronic yo-yo dieter, someone who can't stick to anything. Maybe you have an identity of I'm a failure. I can't do anything right. Everything I try to do, I always fall off the wagon. I can't stick to it. Maybe your current timeline involves a lot of anxiety and guilt and stress around food. Maybe in your current timeline, you're letting your body stop you from living your life fully. Maybe in your current timeline, you feel like your weight is stopping you from being happy. You live in this constant mindset of once I lose weight, then I'll live. Then I'll take pictures. Then something in the future will be different. So the first thing you have to get really clear on is what is your current timeline? Now, the next question is, what is your desired timeline? Ooh, I just got full body chills. And so that's when you know that this is important. What is your desired timeline? How do you want to feel, act, behave, think about food, about your body? What identity do you want to have? Do you want to be that woman who's at the gym telling everyone about her intuitive eating journey, who's able to describe herself as an intuitive eater? Maybe you want to be able to help other women with their relationship with food and their bodies, to be an example of what is possible. How do you want to feel about yourself? Maybe you want to feel like you can finally stop people pleasing. You can finally stop walking on eggshells. Maybe you want to feel like you can be yourself. Maybe you want to stop hanging around with people that make you feel like shit. What does your future desired timeline look like? This is really important because if you don't know where you're going, this is something that my friends and I were talking about while we were in Sedona, how so many people think short term, 3 months from now. If we're lucky, maybe a year from now. But where do you want to be 20 years from now, 30 years from now? Thinking long term, that's going to be your key to success. I know I have an idea of where I want to go. And I think this is actually, I can't remember where I had heard this, but I think this is one of the habits of the most successful people, is that instead of thinking a month from now, a year from now, they think 10 years from now. They think decades from now. And so where do you want to be in your future timeline? Now, I'm not saying that your future desired timeline has to be decades away. And actually, that is the beauty of quantum leaping, which we'll talk about, is that once you have an idea of your desired timeline and who you are in that future timeline, you get to start bringing it closer and closer and closer so that it doesn't have to take you decades to get there. It can happen really quickly. Now, what I said to you was that I came back from this trip a different person, and I really mean it. So a little context, I went into this retreat with the intention of having clarity, of having some kind of reset. Because this winter was really tough. It was challenging. I was extremely busy. I worked on the creation of the Food Freedom Academy 2.0 course, and it's all complete. And I'm so incredibly proud of it. And all of you inside the program, I know that you are getting so much value from it, and nothing makes me happier. And it was challenging because I worked a lot. And it was so beautiful because I got to finish the course the week before leaving for this trip. So I go into this trip with this intention of getting clarity and really sensing and bringing to the surface what might be holding me back from achieving the next level in my growth so that I can help more people, so that I can change more lives. But I was detached. I didn't feel this like pressure or urgency to have a breakthrough, which let me tell you, I've had in the past where I would go into these retreats and people have breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough. And what I mean by breakthrough is like this sudden and dramatic shift in your perspective, in how you see something, in how you see yourself. And then that creates this like massive shift for my friends in their businesses, but for you, it could be in the way that you see your relationship with food and with your body and with yourself. So you would see people having breakthrough after breakthrough. And in the past, I would think, I haven't had my breakthrough yet. And I would get impatient and I would get stressed out. And guess what? The more attached, the more stressed you are about changing, about having a breakthrough, about getting results, the longer it takes. Shocker. And I went into this one being detached because I knew I always get massive insights. I knew that whether it's at the retreat or it's a week after the retreat or it's a month after the retreat, I always get a breakthrough. And so I went into it being patient and saying, whatever happens, happens. And we were in Sedona. So I didn't feel like I had a massive breakthrough during the 2 days of the business retreat. And then the first day that we're in Sedona, me and my girlfriends are just talking around the fire late at night. It was so beautiful. It was a full moon in Sedona as well. And if you don't know Sedona, they have a dark sky policy, which means that everyone has to have their lights off at night so that you can see the beautiful night sky, the stars. I'm a big space girl. Like, I love looking up at the stars. I am obsessed with the moon. And unfortunately, in Montreal, we have a lot of light pollution. So I don't get to see that many stars. So we're sitting around the fire. We're having these like really deep conversations. I miss it so much. Rachel and Rebecca, if you're listening to this, I'm so excited to go back. It was just, they have both been on the podcast. So if you want to listen to their episodes as well, they're amazing. Rachel Hepner, Rebecca Kiger. So they've been both guests on this podcast. But all that to say, we're around the fire and we're having these deep conversations. And I finally have this like incredibly powerful insight and breakthrough as to what's holding me back from achieving my next level and what I would need to let go of in order to shift into my next level timeline. And what was interesting that happened is once I got clear on the things that I would let go of, that I would have to let go of, certain beliefs, certain attachments, certain fears. Because the thing is that when you're growing a business, yes, a lot of people talk about success and money and exposure and impact, but along with that comes a lot of challenges too. The more you're exposed, the more people will talk about you, the more people will take things out of context. They'll say negative things. And those are all things that as human beings, we want to protect ourselves from. And so I started to recognize that, oh my goodness, if I want to step into this new timeline, if I want to step into this new level in my life, and I want to quantum leap into it, I want to get these massive, quick, instantaneous changes, I'm going to need to let go of my old timeline. I'm going to need to let go of my old identity, that old version of me. And once I had that epiphany, I kid you not, my entire body started shaking. I could feel that old version of me start rebelling and yelling and trying everything in its power to pull me back. It was so scared because with that new level, that new version of you, there's going to be fear. No matter what, you've never stepped into it. And so when you've never stepped into it, when you've never experienced this new version of you, we go into the worst case scenarios and we focus on the possible threats. We focus on what people might say, the things we might lose, the things we're going to have to give up. And so I noticed how scared I was. And it was so interesting because I realized I haven't felt this scared. I'm like getting emotional right now because I hadn't felt this scared in a really long time. And that is how I knew that this was a quantum leap that was waiting for me. Because if the future version of you doesn't scare you, at least a little bit, you're not dreaming big enough. It should scare you because you've never been there before. And so if you want to take incremental, slow changes and decisions in your life, you can, absolutely. But if you want to experience these incredible quantum leaps in your relationship with food, you have to accept that fear will come along with it. Whenever someone makes a decision to work with me, everyone says the same thing, that they were really, really scared. And that's because they knew that things were about to change. And if you haven't felt that kind of fear, I mean, think about it this way. How many diets have you tried that you just did and you didn't feel scared? You kind of just did it over and over again. Did you ever feel this like crippling fear? And if the answer is no, it's because you weren't actually changing. Because when you are making these real changes in your relationship with food and your body and with yourself, the reason why those things are happening is because you are changing internally. So much of the work that I do with my clients inside Food Freedom Academy is internal work on yourself. Because you are the thing that creates everything outside of you. And so if you're not changing yourself, if I'm not changing myself, how can I expect to experience changes in my business? Or for you in your eating, or how you feel about your body? So bringing it back to we're around the fire and I now am presented with two choices. Stay in my current timeline, keep doing what's comfortable, what's familiar, but not necessarily feels good, right? Most of the time, our current timeline is at least a little bit painful, if not a lot painful. And so that is decision number one, is I can continue doing what I've been doing. Or now I have a new decision, which is to step into this new timeline, to decide that I am not going back to that old version of me. And I was seeing that I was hesitant, even though I wanted to change so badly. And this is something I see all the time in my clients and the women in my community is I want to change so badly. I know what I should be doing. I just not doing it. I can't do it. I'm procrastinating. I'm not following through. And if that's the case, it's because there is some part of you that is resistant to the change. If you feel like you want to change so badly, you're not changing, it's because there's a part of you that is resistant to it, that is scared, that doesn't feel safe. And now the mistake that most people make is that they push that part down. They ignore it. They try to power through. And just like a kid who's having a tantrum, who wants your attention, who needs your care, and instead of giving that child the care they need, you say, go in a corner and shut up. It's probably not going to be very helpful, right? And then that kid might double down on the tantrum because it still hasn't been seen, it hasn't been heard, it hasn't been understood. And so the problem is that most people are never taught to pay attention to that part of you that is holding you back. And so what I did, I could sense in my body, and I just got to tell you that I've been getting chill after chill after chill while recording this episode right now. And so it just brings me back to how visceral the reaction was. And I was telling my friends, like, I've never experienced this kind of shaking in my body. And it feels so counterintuitive, right? Like, why am I so afraid to positively improve my life? Like, when you really think about it, why are we so scared to improve our lives and to change for the better? But there's always that part of us. It could be rational or it could be irrational and has these fears of what that next level might mean for you. So I sat with that part of me that was really scared and really resistant. And I just listened. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid might happen if I step into this new timeline? What do you feel like I might have to let go of? And what are you afraid I might lose? Because for some of you, when you get really honest with yourself about the life that you want to create, there are some things that you will need to let go of because you can't take all of your baggage and all of that shit with you, pardon my French, into the more aligned, more authentic version of you. When you think about that future timeline, maybe you're someone who is confident, who walks into the room and commands presence and attention. Maybe you're someone who's actually positive, who looks at your wins instead of your failures. Maybe you're someone who uplifts others. Now, what I really want you to do is I want you to get super clear on what is that future timeline? And more importantly, who are you in that future timeline? Because I can tell you one thing for sure is that you are not the same person in that future timeline than you are now. There are things that you have to let go of. Maybe you have this belief that I fail at everything that I do. Well, that future version of you does not think that way. So you're going to have to let go of that belief. Maybe you have this belief that I'm not enough. Well, let me guess, that future version of you does not have that belief. You're going to have to let go of that belief. And so once you start getting clear on where you are now, who you're being now, and where you want to be, you'll start to see that, oh, there's a lot of things that I need to let go of, that I can't bring with me. And there are fears that I need to look at that are currently holding me stuck in this current reality. Because if there weren't fears, you would have stepped into it already. Maybe you would have invested in a coach or in a program to get support. Maybe you would have gotten other people in your life on board to help you. Maybe you would have done everything in your power to step into that next timeline. What's really interesting is that night when I sat with my fears and I really helped my fears feel safe around getting and jumping into this new timeline and jumping into a quantum leap, I had this voice that said, you need to work with a specific coach that I've been following for a while. You need to work with her. So I knew in order to solidify my decision to step into this new version of me, my future quantum leap version of me, I want to pair it with an action. So I sent her a DM that night immediately and I said, hi, I'm ready to work with you. And I'm meeting with her tomorrow. And I am following through on my decision to not just say, okay, great, I want to change. I am solidifying it with action. And so at the end of the day, it comes down to a decision to let that old version of you die off. And that's why it feels so uncomfortable, is because it's called an ego death. A part of you is literally dying off. And when I came back here and I was with Luke and I was telling him all about my trip, I am a different person. I'm the same person, but I'm a different person. Because that version that left is a different version that came back. And so you need to make a decision to let that old version of you die off. And you need to make the decision to step into that future timeline. And that means you become this new identity today. You choose to become the version of yourself who feels free around food, who is not controlled by her body, who is peaceful and confident and self-assured. And that means that you just make small micro decisions every day that align with this new identity. If you think that your identity will just magically change over time, that's going to be a really slow process. You can choose today to be the kind of person who has a healthy relationship with food. And what you might recognize is that there are certain actions that you need to take that will solidify this new identity. In the same way that for me, I needed to solidify my new identity by reaching out to that coach and saying, hey, I want to work with you because I need support in order to bring this new identity to life, because I don't think that I can do it myself. And it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to need support. I would not have gotten where I am today without having invested in so much support, because I didn't know how to do it myself. And I could have spent 20, 30 years being stubborn and trying to figure it out by myself, or I could have chosen to fast track my way to success. And I decided to go with option B because I value my time more than anything else. Because I know that time is the only thing that I can't get back. That I can't go back and say, I'm going to go back 5 years ago and redo 2020. Although I don't know that I would want to, but you get it. You get the gist. So this is how you close the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Your current timeline and your desired timeline. That's what we mean when we talk about a quantum leap, or what you might also call timeline jumping. It's when you shift your internal state, your thoughts, your beliefs, your energy, your embodiment to align with the version of you who already lives in the reality that you want. And you collapse the gap between where you are and where you want to be by stepping into the identity, the mindsets, the feelings, and the actions of future you now. And as a result, your external reality will start to reconfigure and reflect the new timeline you've chosen. And I used to be super skeptical of this stuff, you guys. I'm much more grounded in the 3D, logical, numbers driven. You need to show me the science. You need to show me the evidence. And over the past few years, I've just gotten way too much evidence of people who have achieved these quantum leaps in their business that didn't make sense. Like, that happened so quickly. The shift was so instantaneous that you can't explain it. And everyone who's ever done it, who's ever experienced these quantum leaps, have said the same thing. They changed who they were being. What you'll see is that it's nearly impossible to step into a empowered and healthy relationship with food and your body if you just keep being the same person who created the unhealthy relationship with food in your body. If you keep being the victim or not taking responsibility for your healing, or thinking that everyone else can do it but me, or thinking that I haven't been able to do it up until this point, so it's not possible. All of those things, they have to go. Those things cannot remain if you want to step into something different. You want something different, you have to become someone different. And that, my friend, is how you quantum leap into food freedom. So what does that mean for you? Ask yourself that. What needs to change? Do you need to take different actions? Do you need to find support? Do you need to solidify the new version with a decision? Really ask yourself, what does that look like for me? Because until you make the decision to cut off, to let die off that current version of you that's been keeping you stuck, this goal of healing your relationship with food and your body will remain a dream. And you know that I'm telling you all of this because I care. I want to see you change your life. And sometimes, if that means having to say the hard things that no one else will say, I'll take it. So I love you so much. I hope this episode gave you something to think about. Please send me a DM on Instagram and let me know what your biggest takeaway was at sabrina.magna.health on Instagram. I love getting your DMs, and share this episode with someone that you know who could use this, who needs to hear a little bit of real talk from your girl Sabrina, because if this was helpful for you, I'm sure it could be helpful for someone else. I love you so much. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you found it valuable, I would love if you would share it with someone you know that could benefit. If you're loving the show, don't forget to subscribe over on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. I really love hearing feedback from you, so please leave a rating and review over on Apple to help us get in the ears of more people who need it the most. Finally, come hang out with me on Instagram at Sabrina Magna Health for more educational content and get up close and personal with me. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you on the next episode.